Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Are you playing all?
Yeah, we have matches every few days.
Every Tuesday?
Every few days, like 3 times a week. It's a season. How is the other Serbian girl doing?
Huh?
Is the other Serbian girl good?
Who?
Milica?
Selega.
Yeah, she's in marketing class.
Yes.
She's my roommate.
I didn't see her this morning.
Yeah.
Is she somewhere playing?
No, we had match on Saturday and we have match on Wednesday.
Did you play here on Saturday?
Yeah.
With which college?
Tosco?
Did you win?
No.
You lost?
The guys won. We played outside, it was cold.
I think Anthony is a coach in one of those schools that you played with.
Yeah, Anthony. Yeah, he was here.
Yeah, that's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. I met him last semester.
Oh, okay. He's a very good guy.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Anthony.
You know, a lot of people, you know Arthur? The French guy, Arthur?
Arthur.
Yeah, everyone says that he looks like Anthony.
Yeah, and Anthony, when he was here, everybody liked him.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. Okay, see you later.
Okay, if you are, whenever you are playing here, you let me know so that I come and watch you.
I think we were playing on Wednesday afternoon, but if it's gonna be cold, we will play indoors.
This coming Wednesday?
Yeah, but if it's cold, then we're gonna go to Virginia Tech to play. So.
Oh, okay.
I
hope you win.
I hope so too.
Let me drink water quickly and I'll come back. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we are on this chapter 9.
Yes.
We started it and we stopped here. I don't know if other students are coming or not. So, but let us get going.
Yes, sir.
There is a test.
It's until the 7th.
Yeah, it's open now.
Yeah.
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 So it will close on
The 7th.
the 7th. That is Wednesday.
Yep.
So we don't have to rush to do it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and if you set out to do it, please take your time. It's not that difficult. Take your time so that you make a good grade on it.
The last test we took, I messed up on it. I got a 25%, but I knew, okay, so like on how my laptop is, I pressed the down arrow to get the screen to move, and I accidentally pressed the down arrow and it changed my answers because they're like A, B, C, or D. So I would click an answer and then I would press the down arrow to get it to the screen to slide up so I could move on to the next question, and it would change my answer. So like the last test, like I didn't know, and I only got a 25% on the test. So
Then you make sure you don't make that error this time, please.
Yeah. But like I messed the whole test up because of it.
And there's nothing that I can do about it now. So we have 3 more tests.
Right.
So try and don't make mistakes, and don't play with it. Take your time. Situations have arisen here in this class that even they are telling me if I open the test and students don't do it and it closes, I don't have to reset. They are saying it is discriminatory.
Yeah.
And really the question I ask, students are playing tennis, students are playing baseball, students are playing basketball. Now, if students miss the test, because over the weekend or something like that, basketball players were playing tournament somewhere. So what do I have to do? Is that fair for me not to? Good morning. Is it fair for me not to reset this in the test for them to take because they are representing the school? Right? Yeah, they are. Kroll, I hope you understand what I'm saying. They are representing the school. There are some students who are not doing anything to represent the school, right? And even if we are talking about these people who are not athletes and they miss the test and you tell me not to reset the test for them, I understand that. But not people who are somewhere in Augusta playing basketball.
Yeah.
Those who are playing this in the tournament, if they miss the test, how can I say that a student is playing a game and after the game you come and do the test? The student is already tired. But this is what I'm hearing. This is what they are telling me. I have a letter written to me by the acting dean that it is discriminatory. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. So I'm confused. They are confusing me. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I mean, you have to be realistic. You have to be fair. Do you see? These kids are playing. They are representing the school. You understand what I'm saying? If they are representing the school and they go and play a game somewhere and they miss an assignment or they miss a test, do you see, is it fair not to reset the test for them to take? You understand what I'm saying? And if somebody tell me that if somebody tells me that if you reset the test, it is discriminatory. I mean, come on. So I really don't understand. But let us go on. So please take time on the test that has been opened. Kroll, have you seen that the test is open at 12 o'clock?
Yeah.
And it will close on Wednesday at 12 midnight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take your time and then do it so that you come up with a good grade.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we have these sales presentations strategy. There are situations, and these are the 5 situations that the salesperson might face in what? In the presentation of the product or the service to the buyer. So the first one is that of doing the presentation specifically to the buyer. 2, the presentation to a group of buyers. Excuse me. There. Is the meeting not closed yet? Huh? Not over yet. Oh, okay. You see, now to a group of buyers. If a group of buyers, you see, are representing the various companies, then the salesperson can do what? Present the product or service to the group. Or here we have the sales team from what? From the company, right? The sales team can also do what? But 5, 6 people, do you see, they come in here to do what? To represent the company and each presenting a portion. Do you see, do a portion of the presentation. Presentation could be on what? Could be on a conference call or in the form of a seminar. Do you see? Any of this, do you see, will involve the presentations, the description of the product or the service to the buyer. First, you have to know the product, right? So if we move on, this is the sequence that has to be done. These are the various methods that one has to go through. You have here the strategy that the salesperson memorizes the presentation. We are going to go through, take each of these. Here we say that the presentation is strictly structured. Then we have this formula for selling, which is semi-structured. And we have the need presentation, that is the satisfaction. Here, that is going to involve both the buyer and the seller. And with each of these strategies or presentations, the buyer certainly will have the chance to ask questions. So here it is unstructured. And the last one is what? Problem solving. This is customized to fit the individual buyer's needs, solving a problem for the buyer. So here, if we pick this, participation time by the customer and the salesperson during memorization. Well, you see that here, you see that the salesperson does the talking, all the talking. Do you see? Now, the salesperson memorizes the plan has been made, and then all that he's doing is what? Is presentation. Do you see? Now, that is the approach. Now look at it that the customer is allowed time to ask questions, to talk. Right? And you see that this is intermittent. But you see that most of the time it is the salesperson who indeed is doing the talking. Do you see? Now the prospect needs maybe, if it is memorized, the prospect needs may be stimulated by direct exposure to the product. Show the prospect the product. Do you see? In the presentations, right? As an exhibit. Do you see? And when this thing happens, you see that the prospect needs have been stimulated. Why? Because he will make the effort to do what? To buy the product. We have this company that did this and made this as an example. The National Cash Register Company. Do you see? It pioneered this. Number two, let's do this. Now, why is it that we choose this kind of sales presentation? One, because it ensures the salesperson gives a well-planned presentation. Number two, it ensures all the company's salespersons discuss the same information to the prospects. Three, it aids both aids and lends confidence to the inexperienced salespersons. Three, it is ineffective. Why? It is because the selling time is short, and in-door to door or telephone, in the case of in-door to door or telephone selling. Two, the product type is non-technical. If the product is non-technical, such as books, cooking or utensils or cosmetics, then it is ineffective. You see, why is it that we will not choose the memorized or kind sales presentation method? Why we will not? Why is it that? Why? Because here presentations files that may not be important to the buyer. Two, it allows for little prospect participation. You see that it is memorized and it is only the salesperson that is doing the talking. You see, it is not practical to use when selling technical products, right? That require prospect input and discussions. If the product is technical, the prospect should be allowed to participate, to be allowed to ask questions. Do you see? It requires here the salesperson to proceed quickly through the sales presentation to the close, resulting in several closes or requests for the order, which may be interpreted by the prospect as high-pressure selling. And therefore, here, it is not, suggested that we use the memorized presentation. Now, we go on. Here, number two. Number two, the second one, participation time by a customer and the salesperson during a formula sales. This is the formula sales. Number two, formula sales. Now, during the formula sales, what happens? The salesperson does the talking. And as you see that most of the talking is done by what? By the salesperson. Now, During the approach, the formula approach.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Now, this approach is referred to as persuasive selling presentation, and the salesperson follows a less structured general outline in making presentation, allowing for flexibility and less direction. This is the period we call attention, interest, desire, and action procedure. You try to generate the attention of the prospect. Let the prospect gain interest. 3, express the need for the product, and then take action procedure. You see, now after the first approach and the presentation, you see that the salesperson is allowed to the prospect is allowed to do what? To ask questions. Now, why is it that we choose this formula sales presentation method? Why? Because you are contacting similar prospects in similar situations. Now, know something about the prospect. That is the first thing, because you cannot do the presentation to the prospect without knowing the needs of the prospect. Now, you might have called on the prospect in the past. Do you see? And you want to ensure that all information is logically presented to the prospect. You know the prospect. Do you see? You want to have reasonable amount of buyer-seller interaction. During this time, you see that after talking during the presentation, then the buyer is allowed to ask questions. You see. Now, why choose the formula again? Because it allows for smooth handling, you see, of anticipated questions and objections. Examples of product types that work well with this method are consumer goods work well, and from pharmaceutical products work well under this formula sales presentation method. Now, why not choose the formula sales presentation? Because you do not know the prospect's needs. 2, you see a need for the prospect to talk more. You allow the prospect to talk more. 2, have a complex sales situation such as selling a technical product. If you are selling a technical product, this is not a good formula to choose. And selling to a group. You see. So, steps number 10, that is productive selling sales call. Step number, plan the call, review plans, greet personnel, check store conditions, the approach, presentation, close, merchandising, recalls and the reports, and analyze the call. You see. Okay. A formula approach sales presentation. Now, we go the need, satisfaction, and problem solving sales presentations. The need, this is an interactive sales presentation. This needs satisfaction. Do you see? Now, we have number A, the need development phase. You allow the salesperson allows and encourages the prospect to discuss his needs. That is the first step. Number 2, the need awareness phase. The need awareness phase. This is sales matters control of the conversation. By restating the prospect's needs and to clarify the situation. Now, we have the need fulfillment phase. This is the point where the salesperson shows his product how his product will satisfy mutually agreed upon needs. Right? Now, why choose this needs, this satisfaction approach or method? One, because you need a flexible, interactive sales presentation. Number two is that you need to uncover needs by asking questions. Do you see? By talking to the prospect, you uncover, you get to know, do you see, what the needs are of the prospect. Two, you need the prospect to talk about his needs, and therefore the needs approach tends to be good. And then use this method the first time you call on a prospect. Right? The first time you call on a prospect, this is what you might want to do. You see, ask questions for the prospect to discuss what the prospect thinks that will satisfy its needs. You should have to come back a second time. You will use the formula sales presentation method. Now, why choose this? Examples of product types that work well with this method are: one, financial services. Do you see? Work well. Two, systems work well. Three, higher price goods or services such as vehicles, real estate, computer systems, industrial equipment are the types of goods that do what? Fall under this method. That is the needs satisfaction method. You discuss what is it that you need. Do you see? You are buying the motor. You are selling the automobile. So you discuss. Take some time. Be patient. Discuss. Let the customer talk about what is it that the customer needs by buying and then owning and using the product. So important, because you need more control over the conversation, and you feel should not ask too many questions. And three, are new to the sales profession. Why not choose this need satisfaction? Because you need more control over the conversation. If you need more control over the conversation, then the need satisfaction sales presentation method is not the route to go. You see. Need satisfaction presentation. These are the phases. One, need development phase. Two, the awareness phase. And then you describe the fulfillment phase. Right? The fulfillment phase. You see. Now, this is an example. This is a dialogue that went on between a salesperson and a prospect. Hey, Mr. Pride, you really have a large manufacturing facility. How large is it? Salesperson. Do you see this? The seller is making a presentation to a company, a representative of a company, right? And therefore, look at how the salesperson started the conversation. Do you see? Buyer, we have approximately 50 acres under our roof. With our main production building, almost about 25 acres under one roof, but we use 6 buildings for production. This is a conversation between what? The salesperson and the buyer. That is the buyer who is representing the company. Blah, 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 up to the end. You see. Go on, go on. Why choose the problem-solving sales presentation method? You see, because you are selling highly complex or technical product. You see, if you are selling a complex or a highly technical product, then it involves this method, problem-solving method. You see, you are required to make several sales calls to develop a detailed, in-depth analysis of the product needs. You see, this presentation should be customized to fit the needs of the individual buyer. Why? Because you are trying to sell the product that will solve the problem of the customer or of the buyer. You see. So you need a flexible customer presentation based on the salesperson's findings. This should not be difficult. You do the background search of the buyer or the representative of the company before you set out to do that. So there are 6 steps in the problem solution presentations. Number one, step one, convincing the prospect to allow the salesperson to conduct the analysis. That is the first step. Step number two, make the actual analysis. You are trying to solve a problem, so your presentation should be analytical. 3, agreeing on the problem and determining that the buyer wants to solve the problem. You see, through your interaction with the buyer, you tend to agree on what? On the problem to be solved. Do you see? So, number 5 is that you prepare the proposal. You prepare a written proposal, a proposal for a solution to the prospect needs. Because right now, you know what problem that the prospect is trying or attempting to solve. And then here, when you know it, when you are prepared, then you prepare the presentation based on what? The analysis of the proposal so presented or prepared. And then number 6 is that you make the sales presentation. So you go through these 6 steps to do problem solution sales presentations. Now, what is the best presentation method? What is the best presentation method? What is the best presentation method? Here, you see that in order we have the memorized, the formula, the need satisfaction, and the problem solution in that order. So we have the memorized here. You see, we see this slide showing the presentation being done by the lady to the prospect. The need satisfaction here and the problem solution. So which one shall we go by? Which one? Each of these methods is the best one when properly matched with the situation. So it means that there isn't any one best way of doing the presentation. You can use the memorized, you can use the formula, You can use the needs satisfaction, and you can also use the problem solution presentation method. This is based on what? On the situation at the time. What is it that the prospect needs? And it is this that will prepare the salesperson to choose one of these or a combination of these methods in the presentation. Do you see? We also have group presentation as a sequence. Now, here the group presentation, either you or the team presents the proposal to a group of decision makers. Here, we might be thinking about the company executives, that our company is what? Going to do the presentation to. Do you see? Now, the flexibility of the presentation depends on what? On size. Right? The larger the group, the more structured your presentation. If the group is large, then the presentation should be structured. You can structure the presentation and provide question and answer period at the end or during the presentation. Right? You ask questions during the course of the presentation, or you wait until the end of the presentation and then ask for questions. Now, give a proper introduction. If you are doing a group presentation. Now, what is it? First of all, you have to state your name. You appear before the group, so you have to state your name. My name is Crow. I'm representing what? This and this company, right? So you state your name, company name, and what? The proposal. The second issue is that you have to establish credibility. Now, what does this credibility involve? How do you do it? You see, here you give a brief history of your company. You won't get it wrong. If you don't do it, you are not what? Giving credibility to what you are doing. Let the group know exactly the company that we are representing or the company's product. And then provide an account list. Have a copies of an account list available, and then you give to what? To the participants. Do you see? And then in the course of the presentation, before you start, talk about what? The competitive advantages, the competitive edge of your company. Tell the group where your company stands relative to the competition. Do you see? Oh, we are growing. We have what? 5-6% of what? Share of the industry. Do you see? Now you are preparing the minds of the group to listen to you. Very, very important. Do this and you get it right. Now, group presentation continue. Give quality assurances and qualifications. And this what? States what? State guarantees in the beginning. Now, cater to the group's behavioral style. Do you see? Now you have to determine the overall dominant style in order to hold on to their attention. If you know their style, you will be able to control them. And what? Get the people involved. You are doing the presentation to the group, so get the group members involved. Do not talk about prices, and summarize the benefits that the product or products are going to give to what? Serve the needs of the group members or the group participants, those who are participating in or listening to you. You see. Now, negotiating so everyone wins. Negotiating so everyone wins. You see. What are the styles? There are many negotiation styles to use. What are these? Here we have one, cooperative style, we have competitive style, attitudinal style, organizational style, and personal style. Now, the experienced salesperson will negotiate in a way that achieves satisfaction for both parties, that is, the buyer and the seller. You see. Now, negotiation phases so that everyone wins. What do? Planning. Know how your company compares with the competition. What is it that makes your company different from all other companies? You are going to offer, you are offering. How is your product different from the other competitors? You see. Now, when you meet with the buyers, and in meeting, try and build relationships. That eases the negotiation process. Build relationships. If you don't build relationships, it's going to be difficult to win the negotiation. You see. Look for benefits that you can provide in your product. Look for it. And I think if you are doing the presentation, you are not going to ignore this aspect of your presentation. You see. What do you do in the presentation sets the stage for what may come later. Your preposition is very, very important here. So, sales presentation goes high to tech, right? We can use videos in our presentation. We can use CD-ROMs. We can use what? Satellite conferencing. Or we have computer, hardware and software, to be used in our presentations. So, select the presentation method, then the approach. Know which method to use first before developing the presentation. Without knowing which method to use, you cannot prepare. So, know which method to use, and then before you develop the presentation. And then 2, plan the presentation and select the approach. You see, the approach and then the opening. These are the parallel dimensions of selling. Selling process. Good. Buyer's mental steps. Kroll, I hope you are looking at this.
Yes, sir.
Look, you are preparing the buyer's mind, right? Mm-hmm. You have to get the attention of the buyer. 2, for the buyer to do what? To express desire for the product. And then the action here. We call this ADCA. Attention, desire, conviction, and action. So we start here. In the selling process, these are the approaches that you go through. So we have the prospecting the customer, pre-approach planning, the approach, you do the presentation, trial and close, determining objections. What objections we think that, questions that we think are going to be raised. And how do we meet the objections? Do we discount or ignore the questions put up or put forward or asked by the prospect? Trial and close. Do we give handouts? Do you see? And then do we hand samples to the prospect? Yes. If we want to try and close. And then there is a follow-up. So we have here getting the attention, developing the interest, and then the desire. Here, number 2, present. Here, discussing the sequence. Here, present the marketing plan. Do you see? Oh, the availability and how the product could be delivered. And then guaranteeing that the product is there. And if you have extended warranty, you have to discuss that. If you have the resources for maintenance, and then the promotion, and then training. Here, if you are selling to the company, you have to discuss this, that you might want to send technicians to come and help in what? In the maintenance of what? Of the product. We have not finished. Now, the next thing is that of the presentation. Here, you are explaining the proposal. You list the price. Do you see? Shipping costs in your presentation. And then if you have discounts, if you have financing, do you see? And then you do discuss the value analysis of the product or of the merchandise. We have not finished. We are getting to the closing. Do you see? Here, you are going to suggestion, and the facial appearance of the prospect can suggest that, hey, the prospect or the buyer is interested in the product or in the service. Do you see? So you discuss the product here, the quantity to be purchased, the nature, that is the features of the product, the delivery method, and if you have technicians to go to the company and install the product or the equipment, and how much does it cost. You discuss here. This is the point of closing. So the golden rule here makes sense. Why? It sets you apart from all other salespeople who only want to make a sale and a fast dollar. Here we are talking about who? The traditional salesperson. Treat your prospects and customers as your business neighbors. Don't be hostile to them. Let your prospects and customers be your friends. Build relationships with them. That is the golden rule here. Crow, do you have questions here?
No. Are we going to move on to chapter 10? Are we going to move on to chapter 10 today?
This chapter?
Oh, it's time.
On the test?
No, I was thinking today, but I didn't look at the time, so I said that.
Is the test?
No, I was asking if we were moving on to chapter 10 today, and then I looked at the time.
No. It's time now.
Yeah.
It's time to put this one to rest. But for you are in the other class, so we move on to marketing management.